Welcome to On the Edge. I'm Harold Howe. We're here at Emerald Isle Training Center with Andrea Horwath, leader of the Ontario NDV Party. We understand you're here having a little tour of the racing industry and trying to get a sense of things. So far, what have you gained today that you didn't already know before you drove in?
Well, you know, I've actually visited other facilities in other parts of the province. I was up in Chelmsford, saw some facilities there as well. But I think what I've really come to appreciate is just how 24 hours, 7 days a week these facilities operate, and how the people who are, engaged in this activity are so ingrained into it. Do you know what I mean? How it's so much a part of their lives. I mean, how they literally live and breathe this work, and to see it being destroyed on them is it's absolutely tragic. It's a tragedy that didn't have to happen.
It was a year ago March that the Ontario Liberal government made the decision to cancel the slots at racetracks program. We're now at the stage where we can have a very clear view of the carnage that's been created. Loss of jobs, loss of businesses, and so forth. And, I mean, this was not your creation. But what would you say to these people at this stage of the game?
Well, I mean, we've said all along they've made a huge mistake. I mean, they basically, with a stroke of a pen, completely deep-sixed a thriving industry in rural Ontario. I mean, in communities where there's not other opportunities. I was talking to Jim Whalen about the fact that he's 4 generations in this business. He's got a couple of sons. They were expecting to take over the business, and take over the farm, take over the breeding, the racing, the training, all of those things. Now they have no future. He was saying that that people are walking around really like zombies, because they still get up every day to go into the same routines that they've been doing for their entire lives, but to no end result. And in the meantime, of course, financially, people are very, very worried.
Utilizing this facility is just an example. Half their business is gone, and probably more to come, and they just really don't know what to do. They've got mortgages to pay and mouths to feed and all that sort of thing. So I guess the question people would then ask to you is, what can be done?
Well, and that's one of the things that I'm talking to folks about as well. I just asked the question, interestingly enough, can this be turned around, and what do we need to do to turn it around? So the first question is, can it be turned around? And if the answer to that is yes, it can be turned around, then that's what we have to do. We have to try to turn it around. So now, one of the things that we've tried to do is try to get the government to just put a stop to where things are. We tried to do that actually before some of the racetracks started shutting down. Say, let's freeze this as it is, keep the Slots at Racetrack program alive until there's a real commitment to not only stabilizing but growing this industry once again.
And also the racing industry, trying to be objective, says there's no clear gaming strategy for all of the province. And whoever puts forward this idea that there's this huge appetite for more gaming by the public, it just doesn't seem to make sense to racing.
Well, no, and it's not true. And polls actually show that there's that the vast majority of people in this province, over 70% or so, are not in favor of a huge expansion of casinos, for example, across the province. They don't think that that's the right direction to go in. And killing this industry, and at the same time, pegging the future of the province on revenues from encouraging more young people to gamble is not a good, wise way to go. And so the government has basically abdicated its responsibility for gaming in Ontario, handed it over to people who are more interested in pulling in American companies that are going to suck the money out of the pockets of Ontarians and out of the pockets of tourists that are coming to Ontario, and the money's going to go somewhere else. It's not a smart plan, and I mean, somebody, I think, bamboozled the former Minister of Finance, and he irresponsibly just signed off on this plan without even looking at the implications. That's my belief. I don't know if it's true, but if you look at what's happening here, nobody who is responsible, nobody who is thoughtful, nobody who is looking out for the interests of our province would have taken the steps that this government took.
Finally, you have lots on your plate. Racing industry problems and everything else. The spotlight's all on you right now, and everybody's waiting to see how you're going to respond to this budget. You've said publicly, repeatedly, that you want to have conversations like this with the rank and file. And I guess, can you give us an indication of how you're leaning at this point?
Well, we're still in a discussion mode with Ontarians. We continue to get thousands upon thousands of people calling into our phone line, hitting our website, because Ontarians actually think it's important that they have a say. I mean, people actually want to have a say on these kinds of important issues, and so we're going to wrap that up probably in early next week. So that would be the second week or so, third week of May, and then we'll be sitting down with the Premier because there are things that I think this government needs to realize that they haven't realized. They are responsible for prudency when it comes to tax dollars. They should be behaving with much more of a priority being put on the people's interests instead of on their own political interests. And we are making some suggestions to try to get them to move in that direction. The Financial Accountability Office is a thing that we announced very recently. These are the kinds of things that will make not only this government more accountable, but when there's election, and we don't know quite yet when it's going to be, but when there's an election, regardless of who wins, whether it's Conservative, whether it's NDP, or whether it's Liberal, that office will always be there to hold the government to account.
Ms. Horwath, thank you for your thoughts, and I think I can speak on behalf of the racing people. Any help you can give the industry, it certainly would be appreciated.
Well, we're the ones that are bringing the motions into the legislature, the private members' bills into the legislature. We're trying to get that debate happening in the legislature. It's been frustrating to watch the Premier's behavior, both the current and the former Premier, in this regard. And I think it's actually doubly troubling that the current Premier is continuing down this wrong-headed path when it comes to the horse racing industry as the Minister of Agriculture herself, right? She's the Minister of Agriculture and Food. I wonder if she's gone on a tour like this herself, and I strongly recommend that she do so.
Point well taken. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Harold Howe with Andrea Horwath, giving you the Harness Racing Edge.